This is going to be a quick function and safety check on the Springfield Hellcat 9mm pistol. Anytime you disassemble and reassemble your firearm for cleaning or any other reason, or the magazine, it's a good idea to run through a couple of quick tests to make sure all the functions and safeties are working properly. The Springfield Hellcat user manual does not have a particular procedure for this, and I've taken a lot of these checks from other manufacturers' manuals. Alright, so first we always want to make sure the gun is completely unloaded, no magazine, and no round in the chamber. So there is a quick check that you can do before you even completely put the firearm back together. There's a safety feature that keeps the firearm from firing if you were to drop it. And it makes use of this plunger right here. This is called the striker pin safety. This plunger prevents the firing pin from coming through the breech face unless the trigger is being pressed. So when you press the trigger, the internal mechanism presses this plunger, which will then allow the firing pin to come through and hit your primer. So when this is working normally, when you're not pressing on this plunger, you should not be able to press the striker in the back and have that striker come through the breech face. However, if you press on this plunger and push it, it should come through. So that's a good test to make sure that this safety is working properly. Alright, so that's one quick check before you even put the firearm back together. So next we're going to do the magazine check. So you just want to make sure that when you put the magazine in, the magazine stays put and is real secure until you press the magazine release. The next check we're going to do is on the trigger safety. This little lever here on the front of the trigger needs to be pressed before the trigger will go back. So you want to wrap the slide and grab the sides of the trigger. And don't press the trigger safety, and try to press the trigger. It should not go anywhere, and the gun should not fire, and the striker should not fall. And then make sure that when you do press the trigger properly, always point it in a safe direction when you press the trigger, that the striker will fall, and you can hear that fall. Next we're going to do the trigger reset check. So basically rack the slide. Okay, so we're going to press the trigger again, but you want to hold it to the rear. So press the trigger, hold it to the rear, rack the slide to reset, then slowly release pressure on the trigger until you hear the click, which is the reset. And once you hear that, if you press the trigger again, it should fire again. Alright, so that's working perfectly. If your firearm has a manual safety on it, this one does not. But if it has a manual safety, it would be back here. So what you want to do is rack the slide, put the manual safety on, press the trigger, and it should not fire. Then take the safety off, press the trigger, and it should fire. Okay, so that's the check for the external safety. The last test that I do is a test to make sure that the magazine is working properly and feeding properly, and that the gun is extracting and ejecting properly. So to do that, I'm simply going to load dummy rounds into each of the magazines that I use. These are the dummy rounds I use. I just like these because they're orange and they're obvious that they're dummy rounds. These are by A-Zoom. I'll leave a link in the description below. But all I'm going to do here is load 5 dummy rounds into any magazine that I've disassembled. Now I'm going to verify that my firearm is unloaded. I'm going to load it up with dummy rounds. So now I have 1 dummy round in the chamber and 4 in the magazine. So I'm going to simulate firing the gun by simply racking the slide to the rear. And each time I rack the slide, it should extract and eject 1 dummy round, and it's going to throw it across the room for me. And the slide should lock back after the last round on an empty magazine to show that everything is working normally. So you want to rack the slide very briskly to the rear and let go of it. You don't want to ride it forward because you want to make sure that the spring closes the slide. Alright, I'm just going to go ahead and demonstrate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it locked back on an empty magazine, so everything is good to go. Alright, if you found this video helpful, you can check out the description below for links to dummy rounds if you don't have any. They come in handy for a lot of different uses. Please hit the like button below, please subscribe, and thanks for watching.